The Los Angeles Police Department Commission received calls from many angry residents during a live stream session on Zoom. And so this event took place after the police chief in LA, his name's Michael Moore, when we covered him, he had blamed the looters and the rioters for what happened to George Floyd, which was just a terrible, nonsensical thing to say. People are clearly outraged about that, but they're also outraged at how some of these protesters have been treated, how these peaceful protesters have been treated out on the streets. So I love any example of private citizens speaking truth to power, and that's what you're about to experience now. We picked a few highlights from this LAPD commission meeting and get a load of what I would argue is one of the best calls.
Black Lives Matter, defund the police. I find it disgusting that the LAPD is slaughtering peaceful protesters on the street. I had two friends go to the protest in Beverly Hills a couple days ago, and the protest was peaceful. So the police showed up with their excessive violent force, shooting rubber bullets and throwing tear gas. Is this what you think of protecting and serving? Because I think it's bullshit. You, Michael Moore. I refuse to call you an officer or a chief because you don't deserve those titles. You are a disgrace. Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. You.
Efficient.
I don't think I can add anything to that. That was amazing.
Yeah. You know what I liked is his introduction. Like, you might have someone be like, hi, thanks for taking my call. My name's John. And then go on. He's like, Black Lives Matter, defund the police. And so what I wanted to say was, like, it was like a standard greeting in these calls. Maybe it was for some. I don't know. Yeah, that he's my spirit animal.
Definitely. And I like, you guys know, sometimes I really appreciate foul language. I think it really helps to get a point across, and that was the case in that video. And I also love how he yields his time and immediately follows it with an F you. And you feel it, the power of those words. You really do feel it. And it's just a wonderful sight to see.
Yeah. We need more of that.
So we have some more examples. Let's go to the next one.
Chief Moore, you have the most racist eyebrows I've ever seen. Keep them still and show some goddamn respect when you're being called out. We know you meant what you said last night, and I'm calling on you to be fired without pay. I'm not calling for your resignation. I am calling for you to be fired without pay. To demand peace and denounce violence when you are the strongest arm of harm and violence in this moment is asinine, manipulative, and disgusting. You want to talk about looting? Let's talk about the systematic looting of lives, especially Black lives in Los Angeles.
I like that even more. You have the most racist eyebrows. Many people have been pointing out that he kept giving sort of visual signals that he didn't care what people were saying, or he didn't want to hear it or whatever, which I'm sure he didn't. No, that was great, and shows an understanding too that just him stepping down or resigning or whatever and getting some huge payout or something is hardly justice in this case. So yeah, no, I like that.
And what I also loved about these calls, yes, some of them use foul language, and maybe people don't like that, which I think is ridiculous. But I also like how informed a lot of these callers were, because they know about Michael Moore's history, what he's done within the LAPD. And this next call is a good example of that.
Michael, you collected over $1 million from the city with that little drop plan pension scheme by retiring for a day. We all know about it. The LA Times reported on it. You're rich off pension manipulation. People are living out on the street without essential services while you're collecting $350,000 a year in addition to a pension payout. We're not falling for it, you know? You're paid a fortune out of the city's money to oversee the terrorizing of the people of Los Angeles, particularly communities of color and the impoverished. Your pension and salary and your department are responsible for far more theft and damage to this community than anything that people are doing right now. I get the words probably are just washing over you at this point because you're used to hearing people call you just a total idiot and incompetent and racist and ill-equipped to do your job. And you know, that is true. It is.
My God.
So incredible. So incredible. And look, there's something so powerful about what this country is seeing with their own eyes every single day, right? Because you can't make excuses anymore. You can't argue that there is a systemic problem with how we do policing in this country. Every day, there are multiple examples, video examples of the brutality that these cops engage in. And it's, Brett made a really good point during our meeting today, because you're the worst. No, he made a point, like in the first call, right? The guy who said choke on it and all that. He cited the protests that took place in Beverly Hills and how those protesters were treated. And, it is telling how many of those callers, you don't know for sure, but they sounded like they weren't Black. They sounded like they were white, at least the ones that we gave you examples of. And the only reason why I bring that up is because like the sheer rage and anger, as if like this is a new thing, right? And who knows, from a lot of people, this might actually be the first time that they acknowledge how much of a systemic issue this really is.
Yeah, maybe, or felt mobilized and part of the fight back against it, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, it's probably a combination of people being awakened and people being activated, like having the things that they've been thinking or saying to themselves and now actually having a place that they feel they can wield it. It's probably a combination of those things.
Yeah, definitely. And the one other thing that I will say is I think a lot of Americans, especially young Americans, have had so much pent-up rage. Because think about it, a lot of us graduated into an economic nightmare thanks to the Great Recession. We finally start, some of us, not all of us, but we finally start, seeing some momentum in our careers and our finances. And then coronavirus happens and, another giant bailout, the same type of bailout that we were furious about in 2008 happens again on a larger scale for these massive corporations. And they don't even have to keep their employees. They can fire as many people as they want and they still get bailed out. Yeah. And we get a measly, $1,200 check, one-time check. We can't even get our lawmakers to agree to a second $1,200 check, even as 40 million Americans are unemployed right now. So there's a lot of pent-up rage. And if they thought that they could just keep pushing Americans in this like deep, dark hole of despair and they would never fight back, well, they were wrong. They were totally wrong.
Yeah, 100%. It's to think that, you could just, consign people to death by the tens of thousands and provide them no help as their what little money they had or their job evaporates. It'll be fine. You don't really have to worry about it. It'll be totally cool. And then to say to the people protesting, okay, you've been bad. Now I want you to just stop everything that's been inconvenient to us. And after you've done that, we'll help you. Okay, well, I mean, you gave $1,200 when a few thousand people had died, and 100,000 people later, you're not even willing to give another check. I'm going to say you don't have a lot of credibility on the helping people without a lot of pressure being put on you. And so I don't know why anyone would stop. It's the only possible way that any change is going to come.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.